Happy Monday, love and reciprocity. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to those who are new. If you don't already know, I am Trinice L. Jackson, the eldest for Latoya. If you have yet to hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button, hit the post notification bell so that you all will be notified when I upload new content. If you like what you hear, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, keep your like to yourself, for yourself, save it for another day, another YouTuber. For me, it will always and forever be about helping others and never ever about the likes, the comments, the shares, or the lack thereof. Everything that I say may not align with your way of thinking, your belief system, the way you were raised, and that's okay. Everything that someone else says may not align with how I think, feel, or believe, and that's what makes us all unique in our own ways, right? It's been a minute, you all, and I may talk about that at the end of my video. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I'm trying to be done in 15 minutes, and hopefully if I can be done in 10, I will. Definitely will not be 5. Anyway, today I want to talk about predators. And I know for some of us, when we hear the word predator, our minds will take us to what? A sexual predator. For others, when they hear the word predator, their minds will take them to an animal that is predatorial in nature. Well, on today, I'm going to be comparing, contrasting the similarities, the likenesses, the character, the characteristics, and the traits of an animal that is predatorial in nature versus a human predator. I want to talk very briefly about Genesis 1:26. Genesis 1:26 says, "And God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl over the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." If you look at the word dominion, what it means is what? Power, authorship, rulership, and even stewardship. And if you go down a little bit, it says that he gave us dominion over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Well, what are the creatures or the creeping things that we're talking about here? Wildlife, the lions, the tigers, and the bears. Now, what I will say is, please, people, use common sense. Sometimes in life, we are faced with situations where we have to sit down and weigh our pros and cons, and sometimes even get out a pen and a paper and write down the positive and the negatives and see what kind of decision we need to make for our lives. It's called using wisdom, seeking counsel from God, seeking counsel from the word, and even seeking counsel from a godly person, right? And we make the best decisions concerning our lives. Now, understand this, sometimes the decisions we make in our lives can directly affect people connected to you. And sometimes decisions we make in our lives can even affect people that are not directly tied to you. So always sit down and read the word and ask God for guidance and counsel on a situation. However, I want to talk about common sense, right? What is common sense? Common sense is a fast, quick judgment call you made on a whim that will suit you the best, right? In other words, if I am walking down the street and I see a dog attacking or trying to attack people and then barking and acting vicious, common sense will tell me to go the other way. If I'm walking down the street and I see a building that's on fire, common sense will tell me not to go into a burning building, right? So I said all that to say this. Although the word said he has given us dominion over wildlife, and that includes stewardship as well, not just power over these wild animals. If you decide to take a trip to our beautiful motherland and decide to visit one of the country's safaris, and you go on an excursion to a safari, do not get out of the vehicle. Why? Because I promise you, you will not leave the same the way you came. So use common sense. But anyway, on today, I am going to be talking about these predatory animals and how similar human predators are like animals, right? There are certain species of animals that are innately predacious, meaning they were born that way, they're going to live that way, and they're going to die that way. This is how they live to see another day. This is how they get their source of strength, their sustenance, how they keep going on in life. I want to talk about specifically about a lion. The reason I'm choosing a lion is because we know the lion to be what? The king of the jungle. One thing about lions is this. They're predators, right? And they move with stealth, meaning with precision, secretly, cautiously. And keep that in mind, because we're going to talk about human predators that move sneakily and secretly and with precision, and they know what they're doing when they are planning, plotting, and pouncing like that animal. Lions, however, well, before I speak about lions, I want to talk about animals as a whole. Animals that are predators, they have common sense, y'all. Remember I talked about common sense? They usually do not prey on a larger animal. In some cases, there are always an exception to the rule. In most cases, like a lion will not prey and try to attack an elephant or a rhino or a hippo. Why? Because they're stronger and it will present a problem to that lion. Most predators, both human and animals, usually prey on the weaker vessel, right? Now, sometimes the smaller animals that are predators, like hyenas, coyotes, and wolves, although they're smaller than a lion, they will try to attack a lion. Why? Because they run in packs, right? We know hyenas and coyotes and wolves, they run in packs. And we know that there's strength in numbers. Now, I am not a zoologist. I'm not an expert when it comes to wildlife. So I could be wrong in some instances, right? I stand corrected. I am one. You can even put a comment if I'm wrong. I don't hide from being wrong. I'm very open to learning, as long as it's right. I'm very open to being corrected. I don't have a problem being corrected directly. I have a problem with people trying to correct me indirectly. And here's the thing. One thing about me, it doesn't matter what you say. I told you all this before. I don't know if I said it on on YouTube. I said it on Instagram. A person can say 1 or 2 words and I'm going to know what you're trying to say. So just come out and say it and don't do it indirectly. Don't do subliminals because I'm going to know. I'm going to know. Anyway, moving right along. So most animals that are predators, they will not pick on somebody their size or larger. Why? Because again, it will present a problem for them. Now let's move on, because I don't want this to be long. Let's move on to human predators. And I know in the beginning I said that sometimes when we hear the word predator, some of us, we think about a sexual predator, right? There's different types of human predators, just like there are different types of animals that are predators. Sometimes you have the apex predator, right? Those are the ones that are innately predacious. They were born that way and they're going to live that way and they're going to die that way. But it's a little bit different for human predators because we were not born or created to be predators. Let's look at the sexual predator. Now, men, I'm not just talking about, now let me be careful in my wording. If you're not a predator, then don't be offended by this. And I'm not picking on men because there are women who are predators, right? We hear it a lot let me just deal with the sexual predator first. So men who are sexual predators, they usually pick on the weaker vessel, if you know what I mean. They move with stealth. Now, I know this might seem a bit like a fable, and I'm talking about stuff that we see in the movies, but it's true. Sometimes you'll see somebody hiding out in the garage behind a bush. Sometimes it's even a person you got to know and who you began to trust, and they will plan, plot, and pounce. And some people are just sexually deviant people, right? And we're going to talk about why there are human predators. So that man that is a sexual predator, They may hide out and wait for you. Sometimes, I remember when I was younger, probably a teenager and even a young adult, my mom used to always tell me, change up your routine. Don't go the same way every day. Leave at a different time because people are watching when you don't even know it. And I know that to be true because I spoke about this a long time ago, that when my son was in MMA, I would bring him to class, and one day this lady was like, oh, hi. I was like, hi. You know, I hadn't even noticed her in the school ever. And she started talking to me as if she knew me. And I probably gave her kind of a look like, what, lady, what are you talking about? And she said to me, I live across the street from you. And I said, do you? She was like, yeah. She was like, you don't see me every morning when I'm taking my son to school? I'm like, no. And the point of me saying that is that people are watching when you don't even know it. So sometimes, and even on the news, you see it where you'll see a man walking behind a woman. It could be broad daylight or maybe not. And they will try to attack right openly in the streets. Let's talk about the woman that is a sexual predator. Now, let me be careful with this. You hear this a lot with teachers, right? I love teachers, so don't be out here thinking I'm talking about attacking teachers. I actually have an absolute love for teachers. I love teachers because they teach, right? And I think learning is so important. But you hear it a lot with teachers because they have access to children and teenagers. I don't care if you're 17, 18 in school, you're still a child, right? And that teacher will use manipulation to get that student to be close to her. And they will buy them lunch, give them money, buy them the latest sneakers, the nice clothes, so that they can feel good. It's a manipulation tactic. This is how the predator works. And when that student becomes comfortable with that teacher, the whole time she's planning and plotting, and then she's going to pounce, just like the animal that is a predator. Then let's talk about the predators who focus in and prey on the senior citizens. They get very close. This is them moving with stealth. They camouflage like an animal. When an animal moves with stealth, it's not just them moving carefully and secretly. Some animals can camouflage themselves with the elements, just like that person, could be man or woman, who will camouflage their character with who they are, so that they can get close to that senior citizen and end up swindling them out of their life savings, their family home. So the bigger picture, because I'm a bigger picture type of person, right? I like details, but I like the bigger picture because the bigger picture is the end result, right? Let's talk about why there are human predators. Why, Trinice? Because we were not created. Genesis 1:26 says that God made us in his image and after his likeness. God is not a predator, you all. And he's given us dominion over the entire earth, including domesticated and wild animals. So why is it that there are human predators? Three things. One is sin. Sin is always going to be at the top of the list when it comes to predators or anything that grieves God. It's sin, right? Any of our trespasses, not transgressions, it grieves God. It's a sin. Two is we don't have a relationship with God. Now, I know. There are people who know God, right? They know of him. There are some people that say, I know it was God that woke me up. It was God who healed my body. It was God that made a way for me. It was God who gave his son Jesus to die on the cross for my sin, your sins, the world's sin. I know who God is, but we lack the relationship. And it's like if I were to meet a man on today, tomorrow, or next week, and he and I exchange numbers and we texted every day, all day. You know how in the beginning, you just have this, you want to talk to them all day long. You text all day and you may talk on the phone at night, and sometimes you may FaceTime. You're getting to know that person. You don't know them, but you're getting to know them. It isn't until you spend quality physical time with that person, and I don't mean sexual time, I mean just being together, getting to know one another, one-on-one, not just over the phone, right? It's the same thing with God. A lot of us know him. but we don't have a relationship. We lack the relationship. So we got to get to know who God is. Because in order for us to know who God is, we have to spend time with him. Look, God is so comical at times, y'all. He said that even the birds know when it's time to migrate south. And his people don't even know what he requires of us. What's number 3? Number 3 is we don't know who we are. Like, we all may have some insecurities, right? No matter how beautiful we are, no matter how shapely we are, no matter how smart we are, no matter how successful we are, some of us still have insecurities, right? Because we're in the flesh. But a lot of us don't know who we are. I don't care how much money you got. I said this a few times. You could be a millionaire, billionaire, right? You can have the fame, the wealth, the notoriety, but we don't know who we are if you are a predator. Because again, God said he gave us dominion, rulership, power over everything in the earth. But yet we are still predators, right? We got to get to know who God is. I mean, really get to know him one-on-one. Not what you heard. Not what you heard. A lot of us are going based on what we heard. You have to know him for yourselves. Because guess what? Can nobody go before God and condemn you and put you in hell or make you go to heaven? It is God himself that is going to judge us, right? He's going to reward us, and he also is going to judge us, right? So that is my message on today. There's no need to be predators. And this message was supposed to come out a long time ago in September, and I just kept putting it off. And I said in the beginning of this video, I might explain to you why I've been gone for so long. Nobody ran me off the internet, you all. Y'all can't do that. Never in life, right? Only God can do that. And only I can make that decision whether or not I want to go forth and not go forth. But and it had nothing to do with work. I know I always tell you, I'm so busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. Court reporters are busy. I'm less busy. I still work a lot, but I'm less busy because I just elected to just give it away. Like, oh, once I hear no further questions, I just give my work away, and I don't see it until it's time to turn it in. But I had to, listen, I'm a very transparent person, right? And I think all of us at some point may have heard the song, watched the movie. It could be a book, I don't know, out there. But we've certainly heard, I'm almost 99% sure, that most adults have heard the saying, the quote, it's a thin line between love and hate. And we as believers have to be extremely careful because we can easily transition from a place of love to hate. And I know that might sound a little bit weird because love and hate are on opposite ends of the spectrum. They're not one and the same. Total opposites. God is love and the devil is hate. He's full of hate, right? So me being transparent, I had to step back and I said, well, God, I know that you said you gave me the gift of love. I ain't going to go into that whole speech about how I was so upset when he told me that. But I felt like I began to question, like, God, why do I feel this way? I let go. I forgave. But I am in a dark place when it comes to this thing, right? All the love I had is starting to transition into a place where the devil is using me. He's trying to use me. Now, I don't give credit or credence to the enemy. I don't say the devil made me do it. I know a lot of people like to blame the devil for stuff. The devil, listen, the devil will open up a door of entrapment, but it's up to you whether you want to walk in it or not. So I'm not blaming the enemy, but I will say this, that I had to step away from doing my videos because I said, you know, I'm bordering the line of being a hypocrite because I'm telling people to love and forgive, and I'm having a hard time. I thought I let this go, but every day I wake up, I'm so angry. And the Bible says, do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. Meaning, don't go to bed angry. Make it right if you can. If you can. And I said, God, I let that thing go. But obviously you didn't, because 6 months later, you still upset and angry. And I never want to be in a place of hate, because that's truly from the devil. And we got to understand this too, that if you are out here hating on others, I don't have a bone in me to hate on others. You might get upset with somebody. I certainly don't think I have it in me to hate others, because there's a difference. Usually when people hate on others, it's because they're jealous of something or they're envious of something. I don't have that in me. But I began to transition into a place of I had to bite my tongue. And no matter how much I bit my tongue, if it's on the inside, it's on the inside, right? Because the tongue just allows what's on the inside to come out. You express it through your words. So I had to step back. I said, I can't do any videos right now, because right now I'm in a very dark place when it comes to this. I don't ever want to be in a place where I feel like I hate someone, because that's not of God. God is love. And we are called above all else, we're called to love one another. Not just any kind of love, a deep, profound love. Above all else, we're called to love one another. Now, I always want to be in a place of love, because that's who I am. But that is it for now, you all. There are no need for us to be predators, no matter what kind of predator you are, because God has given us power, right? He's given us power. He's given us power, spiritual power. I'm not talking about the power the world knows. I'm talking about spiritual power that was vested in us through God for his glory, to do his work, right? That is it for now, you all. Welcome to a new week. I hope that you all have a beautiful and wonderful, blessed day, and enjoy the rest of your work week.